25th of February 2022, 42C. Europe's luck runs out. We just take a look at the historical situation of the present world order in the wake of what happened in Ukraine. 25th of February 2022. At the time of American independence, the leader of the country was George Washington. And nobody doubts he was the right man in the right place. And he was a leader in every respect. He died at the age of 67. And following on him, and after his time, the British decided to go back again, and they burned Washington, and they didn't seem to accept the revolution outcome, and you know that song, the Battle of New Orleans and all that, but there was a bit of a shamozzle anyway with them, or a bit of a fight, and during that period, there was James Madison, and he was a president from 1809 to 1817. So he saw them through that impasse, and they did well there. Abraham Lincoln then was the president during the crucial American Civil War. So at Gettysburg, you'll see a sign, Pennsylvania, where the country was born, and Gettysburg, where it was saved, which is in Pennsylvania. So Abraham Lincoln was the man there. So all told, whatever you might say about them, they were capable enough of doing the job. Now, in 1913 to 1921, Woodrow Wilson was the president, and he brought America into the First World War, and his reasoning was to make the world safe for democracy. So you see the idea of freedom and safety coming to the fore. And you can judge for yourself, I think perhaps just as well that Germany didn't win the First World War. But the main point is, there was an America there, no doubt about that. Then in 1933, Franklin D. Roosevelt, took over, and he got an extended period, and he was there till 1945. He was there 12 years. He got 4 years extra, I think, than the permitted 8. Well, he introduced all this stuff like the Marshall Plan and the war and all that, and without America, I don't think the Allies had stood a chance. I know the majority of the fighting was in the Russian area, but even if Russia had managed to beat out the Nazis, and don't forget they got a lot of food under the Marshall Plan from America, even that, you still had the Europeans. The British was really the only country that had a hope. So I think it's fair to say that America was the big crucial factor in World War II, and had there not been a good president there to do it, we might have a whole different world. And following on Roosevelt, we had Truman, and he brought them on to after the war. Then we had John F. Kennedy, whose people came from Wexford in Ireland, charismatic president, Democrat, and he was there during the Cuban Missile Crisis, and he was on top of his game. He knew what was happening, he was on the ball, and the Russians tried to land missiles into Cuba to threaten America. So they didn't do it. Well, he got shot, but Nixon came after him, and the Vietnam War was on, or whatever you might think about that. I mean, the average age of youngsters, average age of soldiers, they used to say in a song, in the Vietnam War was 19. I mean, imagine youngsters today, 18 and 19, going to fight in a war zone. Even the ones I know, I mean, they wouldn't hack it well. Eventually, anyway, that ended with America defeated. But Nixon and Ford, whatever else you would say about them, well, they were able to make an effort anyway. They were up to the job, like they mightn't, whether the decision to go to war was right or not. They eventually pulled out. They could have been fighting for another 5 years. So then you had Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait. I think most would agree that had to be repelled. And again, you had a competent president, Bush Sr., in the White House. And they ran them off with Norman Schwarzkopf and all these fellas. Storm and Norman, sorry, I'm just adjusting the camera. And then Iraq came, and a lot of people say they shouldn't have invaded Iraq. I'm not going to get into that. But yet, George Bush Jr., George W. Bush, was up to the job. He was capable of doing what was needed. So it was a question of whether it was right to do it or not, but he was up to it. The next thing we had Obama, and he put Gaddafi's lights out. I'm not so sure that was the best thing to do. They had got agreements with him. But there was talk that he was going to set up his own currency. And there was also evidence that Obama may have encouraged ISIS. He was lukewarm. But just for the sake of it, we'll say he was up to the job. We'll say he was able to do it. Just about. And then we had ISIS quenched by Trump, by Donald Trump. Now, I'm after reading out a list, and that's 10 occasions when there was a crisis in the world and there was a competent president in the United States. There was certainly 8. Some would say Trump's not competent. I don't agree. And Obama, is he? Not too sure. But they had a degree of competency. They had adequate competency. They were competent. They were able for the job. Next thing is Harris and Biden got in. Joe Biden. He's about 79 now. And all the indications are that he's not cognitive. He's not able to follow what's going on at all. I'd safely say that if there was any kind of a situation, you'd have to, every meeting with him in the White House, you'd have to tell him, repeat it to him what the situation is. Safely say that's the case. And Harris appears to be a bit of an airhead. He goes off laughing at things. I don't think she's at the race at all. She gave a speech the other day that before the invasion, oh, this will be as bad as 1945 and this will be bad, and trying to threaten the Russians. The Russians paid no heed of her. So now we have the Afghan situation and the disgusting way that the Biden-Harris administration just pulled out and dumped them there. Biden said, well, you'd never get it right, but still, they could have made a better effort, might even try to negotiate or done something. They left all this weaponry and all, they didn't even pull it out. Why did they give that order? Who was behind that order? Come on, come home and forget about it. Somebody did. Very strange. But I think this is not just the blame of the individual presidents. I think what's happened is that up until now, voters tended to vote for patriotically, for presidents that not alone would run their country right, but would run the world right and would make decisions related to world security right. They thought about this a little bit. They would not vote for someone who didn't think was up to it. But over the last 20 years, since the turn of the millennium and since the Twin Towers were attacked, the whole situation in the West has changed to this, what I've already described, cultural Marxist wokeism, all this old stuff, and this green baloney, and complete and utter shutdown of debate and propaganda. And along come COVID, and while there was a real virus, and I have no doubt there was, and all that, and that, some of the things that fell from that are alarming. Certainly, the New World Order didn't waste any time to make the best of it. And then we have the climate change, and we have everything else, climate justice and all this. And you had the whole world government was taking their instructions from a 16-year-old schoolgirl. So the point is, the voters reared on this stuff, and who were reared on full and plenty. There are poor people in America, but the average child going to school has all they want, and they have cars at 17 and all this, and they are softened up. They are not the same people who went into the jungle to fight the Viet Cong in Vietnam. They're not the same type, and they won't do it. They won't do it. And mothers who vote and women have votes, they do not vote for war. Up until now, for those 10 presidents, there was some hope of getting a tough president enough to do the job. Well, there isn't now. There isn't now. All this new world order, cultural Marxism, has become mainstream. And now the Ukrainian situation arises, and both Afghanistan and Ukraine have now discovered in the space of 24 hours that America is gone. It's out of the equation. We'll see what they'll do. What are they going to do apart from such sanctions? Are they going to go in there and start fighting hand to hand? And I'll say it's not, I wouldn't rule it totally out. I mean, Biden might just give the order, go in and fight them off. I don't think so. I honestly don't think so. And I don't think they will do it for anywhere. Moreover, NATO is not fit for a fight. Even though the Americans have vast more capability, do they have the fight in them? Will young Americans with rifles and smartphones and all this, will they take on hardened 33-year-old Russian stormtroopers who are used to getting it tough? That's a big question. I don't think they will fight anymore. I think we're on our own. And there are 4 entities really in the world. There's China, Russia, Europe, and the USA. The USA was top. I believe if we live a few years more, you'll see that USA gone. What is it? They're in Europe, humming in hand, and agriculturology, depending on Russia for its fuel. Gone. And who's the top dog with China and Russia? My own view is it's China. And the democracy we had, that we enjoyed, would become a rarity. Might survive in Switzerland. I think it'll probably survive in Britain. There'll be some kind of a thing here in Ireland. Probably will a bit. I don't know. There'll be an election in France this year. We'll see what happens. There might be a bit of a fight, but don't forget, you can get to a point where the will is not enough. You have to have the will and the way. And America had the way, but it doesn't have the will. And that's the fault in democracy. That's one of the faults. They were lucky, the world was lucky, the Western world was lucky for 10 elections in America. 10. You can dilute it a wee bit with Obama to 9, and if you don't like Trump, and I do like him, you can say they were lucky 8 times. That's a lot. Each one of them was terms of 4 of 8 years mostly. So 10/8 is 80. You could say that for 80 years they were lucky. I think the luck has run out. You can't win them all. What will happen in years to come? Will people learn and toughen up? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think we'll just have a complete nanny state. All this old woke stuff will continue. I will be fighting it. Maybe others will fight it. I don't really know. But they've learned the hard way this very morning. They've learned the biggest, most important date on the calendar, the 24th of February 2022. In fact, if we had to do it on the 22nd, you'd have all twos. Pity he didn't do it on the 20th. It'd be all twos. It'd be 22, 2, 2, 2. 22, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. And what is the 24th? I think that's a seminal day. I think that's a groundbreaking day. I think that's the day the truth, the books finally came home to roost. Folk, give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Thank you. We'll see you back for something else on Real True Education, not fake news. Val Martin. Bye.